The public want the inflation. They want all the entitlements, all the promises all the things they've been promised by politicians. And hell will freeze over before they go deflationary, in my opinion. But then finally, the masses wake up. And when they wake up, people, it's too late. And that's why you have to get out of Dodge while you have some time. And by that, I mean having some other kind of money outside the current system. And there's really only two kinds of money that have survived through periods like this, and they're gold and silver.
Federal Reserve policymakers are increasingly concerned that newly proposed tariffs could increase inflation and unemployment, though the exact impact and duration remain uncertain. Despite a 0.3% annualized decline in U.S. GDP last quarter, the broader economic picture is not yet collapsing. Consumer spending grew at a moderate pace of 1.8%. April's jobs report showed stronger than expected labor market resilience, with 177,000 jobs added, roughly 40,000 above forecasts, and the steady unemployment rate at 4.2%. Nonetheless, deeper undercurrents of economic unease are building. Senior analyst Mario Innecco warns that inflation is becoming not just persistent but intentional, suggesting a long-term devaluation of currency. He believes panic will ensue once the public realizes this, triggering a so-called crack-up boom. In this scenario, Innecco argues that only real assets like gold and silver will retain lasting value. This outlook is gaining traction in state legislatures. In Louisiana, a new bill, House Bill 386, introduced by Bossier City Republican Representative Raymond Cruz, seeks to recognize gold and silver as currency officially. The proposal echoes efforts in 11 other U.S. states that have already designated gold and silver coins as legal tender. More states, including Louisiana, are actively considering or revisiting similar legislation, reflecting growing concerns over the stability of fiat money. Gold prices surged over 2% on Monday, climbing more than $70 per ounce, as investors sought safety amid rising geopolitical and economic uncertainties. The drop in the U.S. dollar, reflected in the 0.1% dip in the dollar index, further supported bullion, making it cheaper for holders of other currencies. Make sure to tune in for our expert analysis. Don't miss out on future content. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay in the loop. Your support is greatly appreciated.
It's been going on since 1971 in the West, so about 54 years. While it lasts, the price of many goods and services are not yet adjusted to the altered money relation. There are still people in the country who have not yet become aware of the fact that they are confronted with a price revolution, which will finally result in a considerable rise of all prices, although the extent of this rise will not be the same in the various commodities and services. These people still believe that prices one day will drop. Well, dream on. Waiting for this day, they restrict their purchases and concomitantly increase their cash holdings. Well, that's what Warren Buffett and his Berkshire Hathaway have been doing, a third of $1 trillion in cash. But I wonder if that's going to stay in cash or near cash, which are Treasury T-bills, for much longer, if he's warning of runaway inflation. As long as such ideas are still held by public opinion, it is not yet too late for the government to abandon its inflationary policy. Do you really think politicians and also the public these days are going to abandon the inflationary policy? And why do I say the public? Well, because the public want the inflation. They want all the entitlements, all the promises all the things they've been promised by politicians. And hell will freeze over before they go deflationary, in my opinion. But then finally, the masses wake up. And when they wake up, people, it's too late. And that's why you have to get out of Dodge while you have some time. And by that, I mean having some other kind of money outside the current system. And there's really only two kinds of money that have survived through periods like this, and they're gold and silver. And it says here they become suddenly aware of the fact that inflation is a deliberate policy and will go on endlessly. Yes, you and I might know that, But the general public doesn't. They think inflation was created by the current inflation was Putin's fault or Brexit or COVID. And they look at inflation as CPI. They think that 2% or 3% CPI is low inflation, right? So, but when these people wake up, look out. A breakdown occurs, the crack up boom appears. Everybody is anxious to swap his money against real goods, no matter whether he needs them or not, no matter how much money he has to pay for them. Within a very short time, within a few weeks or even days, the things that were used as money are no longer used as media of exchange. They become scrap paper or scrap digital entries. Nobody wants to give away anything against them. So that's when gold and silver become unobtainium. And that's why I said once this happens, it's too late.
Mario Innecco emphasizes that people's decisions on how much money to hold or spend are heavily influenced by recent price behavior, which plays a crucial role in shaping the perceived value of money. This behavioral link underscores why gold and silver continue to hold lasting relevance. Historically used in trade and once backing paper currency, gold and silver are still psychologically and economically regarded as real money, even though the formal connection to currency systems has long been severed. This perception becomes even more pronounced during political instability or economic uncertainty. Investors instinctively gravitate toward tangible assets they can physically own and control, unlike digital assets or fiat currencies, which are vulnerable to policy shifts, systemic failures, or devaluation. Gold and silver provide emotional and practical security. Gold, in particular, acts as a key barometer of monetary health. When governments engage in expansive monetary policies, such as printing money or maintaining artificially low interest rates, the resulting inflation tends to erode the value of fiat currency. In response, gold prices often rise, reflecting the public's diminishing confidence in traditional money and serving as a hedge against its declining purchasing power. Let's get back to the interview.
The deliberations of the individuals which determine their conduct with regard to money are based on their knowledge concerning the prices of the immediate past. If they lacked this knowledge, they would not be in a position to decide what the appropriate height of their cash holdings should be and how much they should spend for the acquisition of various goods. A medium of exchange without a past is unthinkable. So there you go. That's really interesting. That's why gold and silver is so important, because the money that we use today, the paper money, they derive their value from gold and silver ultimately. And it's all this information about prices has been passed on through generations. and it's that's why the price of gold and silver are so important. Nothing can enter into the function of a medium of exchange which was not already previously an economic good and to which people assigned exchange value already before it was demanded as such a medium. So there is no real exchange value for paper money. The reason why it has some is because it was a promissory note for gold and silver, and prior to gold and silver becoming media of exchange, they used to be used in transactions, in direct exchange. And then through custom and time, they became money and currency for that matter. But the purchasing power handed down from the immediate past is modified by today's demand for and supply of money. Human action, well, that's the name of the book, Human Action, is always providing for the future, be it sometimes only the future of the impending hour. He who buys for future consumption and production, as far as he believes that the future will differ from the present and the past. He modifies his valuation and appraisement. This is no less true with regard to money than it is with regard to all vendible goods. In this sense, we may say that today's exchange value of money is an anticipation of tomorrow's exchange value. The basis of all judgments concerning money is its purchasing power as it was in the immediate past. But as far as cash-induced changes in purchasing power are expected, a second factor enters the scene: the anticipation of these changes. He who believes that the price of the goods in which he takes an interest will rise buys more of them than he would have bought in the absence of this belief. Accordingly, he restricts his cash holding. He who believes that prices will drop restricts his purchase and thus enlarges his cash holdings. As long as such speculative anticipations are limited to some commodities, they do not bring about a general tendency toward change in cash holding. But it is different if people believe that they are on the eve of big cash-induced changes in purchasing power, when they expect that the money prices of all goods will rise or fall. They expend or restrict their purchases. These attitudes strengthen and accelerate the expected tendencies considerably.
As doubts grow over the durability of fiat currency and the long-term consequences of inflationary policies, tangible assets like precious metals are reclaiming their historic role as trusted stores of value. Legislative efforts across multiple U.S. states to reclassify gold and silver as official currency signal a broader reevaluation of monetary stability. With geopolitical friction and economic unpredictability mounting, investor psychology favors assets that offer physical security and insulation from centralized financial systems. The enduring appeal of gold and silver reflects more than market trends. It points to a fundamental shift in how value and trust are being redefined. In an era of monetary recalibration, could the resurgence of gold and silver as legal tender be the first step toward a parallel financial framework? Share your perspective in the comments section. If the video resonates with you, join our community by subscribing to our channel and enabling notifications with the bell icon. Thank you for being a part of our community.